Christy. Welcome to card 6 in my 2017 Valentine card series. Today I'm going to be using this I'm All Yours stamp set from My Favorite Things, as well as the Love and Adore 6x6 pad by Simple Stories. So I've chosen 2 of the adorable owls in this set and stamped those out on some Spectre Noir Ultra Smooth Premium White cardstock. I also stamped out an arrow and 3 hearts, and I'm going to begin with my Copic coloring today. So I wanted to do some fun colors since these cards are going to the Cards from the Heart card drive that benefits St. Jude's Children's Hospital and some other children's hospitals as well. So I'm starting with some B's. I'm using the B quadruple 0, B00, and B02. And I laid down the B02 at the bottom and then blended upwards with the B00 and then finished with the B quadruple 0. And then that wasn't as intense as I wanted it, so I decided to do a second layer of all 3 of those colors just to make the transition really smooth. In the scene that I'll be creating, the owls will be kind of flying in the sky, and so rather than a light source to the left or the right, I decided to make it come from the top as if the sun is shining right down on top of their faces. So that is why I'm doing my darkest shading down at the bottom. For this owl's face, I wanted to use some yellows, so I pulled out Y13, and I'm just going to do a small little layer at the bottom, and then I'm going to blend that out with the Y11, just a really light colored face. And then I will grab some R20 and just give her some rosy cheeks right there under her eyelashes. For my second owl, I'm going to use some yellows. I have Y11, Y13, Y15, and Y17. So I'm starting with that Y17 and just trying to be careful and go around those little feather lines that are drawn in there, just so I don't get too much yellow in there so that I can color them a different color later. So I'm blending that out with the Y15 and then the Y13, and then now I'm using the Y11 to just go over the top portion of his face. And I'm really going over that part where the Y13 meets the Y11 to just make that transition smooth. And then I wasn't happy with the transition between the Y15 and the Y13, so I grabbed my Y13 and just blended that out a bit more. And now I'm going back with my Y11 to just finish that off and make it really smooth. Don't be afraid to go over your images more than once if you're not happy with the original blend. That's the thing that sets Copic markers apart from other markers, is that you can do that without your paper pilling. So now I've decided to move on to my hearts. I wasn't sure how I wanted to finish off that owl, so I just moved on. And I'm using the RV21, RV23, and RV25. And I just used the RV25 as my darkest, kind of laid in a little bit of shadow at the bottom, and then blended that out with the RV23 and left the RV21 for my highlight. And again, just going over that blend with the RV23 again to make that smooth. And then I decided to do the owl to match, so I'm going to add that RV25 to the bottom of his wings and those little feathers on his belly. And then I'll just blend those out with the RV23. And the feathers, because they're so small, I'm actually just using the RV25 and the RV23. But I will use the RV21 to finish off his wings for a little more contrast. And then at this point I decided that I wasn't going to introduce any extra colors, so I used that RV25 to color in both of their beaks. And because I decided to just keep the color palette to pink, blue, and yellow, that made my decision easy about what color I should use for this guy's eyes. So I took my B02 and added a little bit of shading down at the bottom, blended it out with the B00, and finished with the B quadruple 0. And that was a little bit too soft for me, so I went back in with my B02 a second time and then blended with the B00 just a little bit. So at this point I thought I was finished, but I just didn't like the contrast on the pink portions. So I used my Copic color chart to find a red that would blend well with these, and that was the R46. So I just added a touch of that in and then blended that out with the RV25 and the RV23. I ended up going back over all the layers there just to blend that smoothly. But I was much happier with that. It just added that extra pop of contrast that I really like in my coloring. So just finishing with the RV21. And then I decided to take that R46 and just add a touch of that to the wings as well. So that way this guy will match. And then I just took those original 3 shades and just blended everything back in. I also thought that the Blue Owl's rosy cheeks were a little too soft now, so I just went over those again with the RV21. I've taped a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock down to my craft mat, and then I'm going to add some spun sugar distress ink to a piece of packaging from a stamp set. And then I'm just going to spritz that with a bit of water from my distress sprayer, and then I can pick that up and put that down where I want it, and that gives me a lot more control with where I want the color to go, as opposed to putting the ink down on your craft mat and then tapping your cardstock into it. So I'll dry that with my heat tool, and when that's no longer cool to the touch, I will add additional layers, just building up that color and the different little spots and darker and lighter areas until I'm happy with the background. I also had the worn lipstick out on my desk, but I ended up not using that. The spun sugar ended up being just what I needed to create a soft background, and so I didn't add any additional colors. Once that was dry, I just peeled away the painter's tape, and there is the background that I was left with. And now I'm going to take my Misty tool, and I will ink up my sentiment with some Memento Tuxedo Black ink and stamp that down into place. And then I'm going to ink that up a second time, and actually a third time. Because that watercolor cardstock has tooth to it, it can often be very difficult to stamp a clean sentiment because the ink doesn't get down into all the little crevices. So this Misty tool has become invaluable for me for stamping on watercolor cardstock. So I'm just cleaning off my sentiment with my Lawn Fawn stamp chamois, and then I can proceed with the focal panel. I've die cut a couple of clouds using the Lawn Fawn Spring Showers dies. There are 3 dies in this, 3 cloud dies in this set. There's also a smaller cloud, but I decided not to use that one today. So I'm using 2 of the larger clouds and the medium cloud. So I'm just adding some Tombow Mono to the back of those and then just gluing them into place. I wanted this one to kind of sit near the sentiment there. And then I will just add those staggering from left to right. And I'll just add this last one here, just kind of making sure that it doesn't match up with the one on the bottom. And then I'll set a large acrylic block over top of that to allow that to dry. I'm grabbing my large roll of 3M foam tape. I buy this off of Amazon because I use so much of this stuff. I love it. And I'm just going to add some pieces to the back of these owls, and I'll trim some down to make them fit. Then I can lift off that acrylic block and trim off the excess of those clouds that overhang the focal panel. So I'm going to take the yellow owl and pop him up towards the bottom of the card, and then the blue owl is going to stand on his head. So I'm just tucking the white bit of the die behind his head so that the feet look like they're standing right on top. And then I'm adding some additional foam tape to the 3 hearts. I'll put the largest one right kind of between the two owls on the right hand side. And then I'm going to take the medium one and I'll pop that up over the edge of the cloud on the left and add the smallest one up on the right. For the arrow, it was too thin to try to pop that up with foam adhesive, so I'm just going to take a little Tombow Mono and add it to either end. And then I'm going to tuck it behind the yellow owl's hand there, his little wing, and just get that where I want it and then press that down into place. My card base is a piece of MFT's Snow Cone cardstock, scored and folded to a standard portrait style card. And I'm just going to take my first piece of pattern paper and glue that down flat to the card with some Tombow Mono multi-glue. Just making sure that covers the whole front evenly. And then I'm taking this floral print and I'm going to add this right over top on the left side. And I know this floral print is a little bit girly, but not very much of it is going to poke out, so I'm still hoping it kind of passes for gender neutral. I'm going to take this last strip and layer that horizontally across the card. And then I will take my focal panel and just pop that up with some more foam tape and layer that right over top of the floral print. So as you can see, only a little bit of that shows. For the inside, I'm taking some Lawn Fawn Merman ink and I'm going to first stamp out this arrow across the center of the card. Then I'm going to take another one of the owls from this set and I'm going to stamp him so he's sitting on the arrow. And then I will stamp out my sentiment that says, "You'll always be my favorite." And I'll just put that right underneath. And then I can sign that with Happy Valentine's Day and my first name and state. And that is going to complete our card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys are participating in the Cards from the Heart card drive, please keep in mind that the cards do need to be received by January 31st so that Winter has time to sort them and get them out to the hospitals in time for Valentine's Day. So you have just short of a week, I would say maybe 5 or 6 more days before you want to get those in the mail. So thank you guys so much for watching. Here's a couple extra videos you might enjoy, and you can always click on my photo to subscribe to my channel. Have a great day. Bye-bye.